Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. My goodness, we have started the day here at Aldonio with two rather large elephant tuskers, as well as a very thirsty male giraffe that's dying to come down for a drink. My name is Kerry Dupree, and as always, it is a pleasure to be with you today, live at the Waterhole. Just a reminder that this is a live and interactive experience, so please feel free to send through any questions and comments, and be ready. I have my questions waiting for you as well. First question is if any of our viewers recognize these two big elephant bulls. I want to say I've seen these two big bulls before. They do look like quite chilled, relaxed elephant bulls. And quite interesting, the formation of their tusks. I'm pretty sure I have seen these two bulls before. It looks like they could be resident bulls. I'm glad that they're having a nice chilled Tuesday drink. Have a look at the elephant, the big bull in the distance there. Looks like he's resting his trunk. Seems like he's had quite a long week already. I cannot believe it is the 2nd of December. Christmas is approaching fast. Countdown begins to the festive season. Hello, big boy. Yes, we can see you. You are very handsome. The countdown has begun to Christmas time. I cannot believe another year has come and gone already. Oh, and we have a zebra coming to join us at the waterhole. Looks like there are a lot of flies around today. The zebra's tail is very busy. As the rains have arrived, I know obviously in Kenya, their short rainy season started just before our rains arrived in southern Africa. So lovely to see a lot of our locations are looking lush and green. Lots of insects, butterflies, and of course flowers and fruit popping up all over the shore. Mr. Elemental, thank you for sending your comment. Mr. Elemental says, hello Kerry and everyone from Western Australia. I wondered what your temperature is like at the moment, Mr. Elemental, in Australia. I know that you have obviously lots of wild birds. I love the wild parrots that you get in Australia, although I know they can be a bit of a pest in your garden, stealing all your fruit. But yeah, Australia is definitely very special place. I think I would really enjoy Australia. I know a lot of people think South Africans and Australia are quite similar in not just the way we speak, but also in our lifestyles. Very free. I know Australians do love their 4x4ing. I've got some family in Australia and they're constantly upgrading and buying. I mean, Australians are well known for their recovery kits. You guys have great recovery kits in Australia, I must say. But yeah, lots of amazing places to go 4x4ing, testing your 4x4 skills over in Australia. So, Mr. Elemental, I'd love to hear what your temperature's like in Australia at the moment. And it can get very hot. It's probably quite nice and humid here in Aldonio. You can see we've got blue skies, but in between the rains at some of these locations, it's incredible how that humidity does build up quite quickly. So today I'm going to be chatting a lot about fruit. We were talking, having a bit of a giggle and laugh with Nadine and Marcel before we started the show about fruit and our favorite fruit. So I would love to hear from our viewers what your favorite fruit is, as well as your favorite wild fruit. I love my fruit. I'm a huge fruit fan. At the moment, I'm really enjoying the mangoes and the peaches. And my favorite wild fruit, I'd have to say, would probably be marullas. I do love marullas. Num-nums are also quite good as well. We do have an array of wild fruits in Zimbabwe that are quite delicious. So I'd love to hear from our viewers, what is your favorite fruit that you can buy in a store? And what is your favorite wild fruit? So this time of the year, rainy season, does mean that there's lots of fruiting trees and flowers that are erupting from the bush at the moment. Got some comments coming through. Duncan, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I guess it's good afternoon for you. Yes, it is lovely to be coming to you live from Kenya with some incredible elephant tuskers. Ooh. Our big elephant bull is also coming to join. Have a look at his right hand side on his tusk there. You can see some notches and grooves. So he's got an unusual set of tusks here. You can see they do hinder his ability to move his trunk a bit, because his one tusk is kind of curving right in front of his trunk there. So he uses this trunk quite often as a tool while feeding. Alrighty folks, well, we're going to leave our elephant bulls for now. I think they're still going to hang around for a while. While we do that, let's head across to South Africa, see what's happening in the Eastern Cape. Oh, what do we have here? Looks like we've got two rather snoozy white rhinos just resting up in this tree. We have had extremely crazy amounts of rain and wind in South Africa the last few years, with the rainy season arriving. The other night we had such a large storm, I actually struggled to sleep. There was thunder and lightning going on for hours. So I'm not surprised these rhinos are taking it easy, having a nice chilled Tuesday morning lying underneath an acacia tree. Rhinos, obviously white rhinos, do spend a lot of time sleeping. They don't need to eat that much, so they spend a great portion of their day is spent eating and munching, but I would say they spend a lot more of their time resting up under trees. We've got some comments here. Tong is asking, do lions ever hunt or eat hyena? So Tong, in the predator world, anything that feeds on something anything that could feed on something that you also feed on, or for example hyena, are considered competition, but they're also a huge pest to lions, because they often will try to chase lions off of their kill or steal food away. So yes, lions are responsible for a lot of hyena deaths, even in other predators like cheetah, leopard, pretty much any other predators that lions find, they will try to kill them to eliminate the competition. But it's very rare to actually have a lion feeding on a predator that it has killed, although it does happen, but it is very rare to have this lions feeding on other predators. And hyenas, same as wild dogs, they don't smell so great, so I don't think they would taste all that delightful. So no, it doesn't happen often. We've also got a question here from Benny. Benny is asking, what is the weight of a hippo when it is born? So Benny, generally a hippo, a baby hippo or calf, weighs about anything between 20 to 50 kilograms, which is about 55 to 110 pounds at birth. Occasionally they can be larger, but generally this is the weight of a small hippo at birth. We've got Leah has sent through a comment. Good day, my name is Leah. Please, I like to know why elephants got horns. Leah, rhinos have horns. I have never seen an elephant with a horn, but generally elephants have tusks, and these tusks are basically modified in sizes, and it helps for one, protection. So protection for their calves. Males, while fighting with each other, do use their tusks quite a lot, but also it is a very good tool for these elephants for feeding purposes. So it's just a few of the very many reasons that elephants have tusks. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with our comments. Thank you for sending your comments. Lots of comments coming through. Mr. Elemental says, Kerry, it's been heat waves on the western side and had some snow on the eastern side. Goodness gracious me, Mr. Elemental. Sounds like you've got quite erratic weather. One side of the country you have heat waves, the other side of the country you have snow. So I hope that you are keeping warm and not too warm during the heat waves in Australia. Divan has asked, how old do you think these elephants are? So Divan, the elephants we were watching earlier, we started the show with some very big elephant bulls over in Oldonyo in Kenya, and those bulls I would say are definitely in their prime. You can see by they're in great condition, very big bodied and long tusks. So I would say they're easily between 45 to 50 years of age. some of the record ages of elephants, or the lifespan of an elephant. They can live up to about 52 to 53 years. Some of these super tuskers were recorded to be about 53 years of age. But yeah, generally that is a good lifespan for a big male elephant. These rhinos are snoozing so hard. So see, as these rhinos are lying here, their ears will move while they listen to things happening around them. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Camelthorn and see what's happening in Botswana. Oh, interesting. I was just about to chat about a crocodile. So we have got a crocodile basking in the sun here. Looks like quite a large specimen, and the last video that African uploaded, it must have been a day ago or so, was of a crocodile. This footage was taken at night, and it was a crocodile very peacefully lying on a bank. To me it looked like it could be Tau Lodge. Must have been during the evening, and this crocodile was peacefully lying on the bank, and a elephant came and chased this poor crocodile away into the water. So we're talking about predators and how lions will eliminate other predators that might be competition. So in the animal kingdom, you'll always be thinking about anything that can compete with you for food will be eliminated. But like these crocodiles, if there's a big rhino or a large elephant close by, they will be submissive and need to move out of the way. And he looks like he's lying in a elephant pathway, or it could be his slipway that this crocodile uses to come in and out of the water. But if an elephant were to come down this little slipway, little path down to the water, this crocodile would need to move quite quickly. Got a comment from Penelope Kenyon. I asked a question for our viewers earlier. What is your favorite fruit? Your fruit that you can buy in a store. And what is your favorite wild fruit? This is the season of lots of rains, so lots of fruiting is taking place all over. It's lovely to see all these fruits and flowers erupting. So Penelope Kenyon said mangoes are her favorite fruit, as well as marullas. Yes, marullas are very delicious wild fruit. Although, Penelope Kenyon, I don't know how many marullas you can eat without starting to get a sore mouth. I find a lot of wild fruits do have a very interesting and unusual taste, very bitter. And the reason for this is because a lot of these wild fruit are high in tannins. So many wild fruits have a very tarty or sour taste, and that is from the astringent or bitterness that's in the fruit. So these flavors are not accidental. They're all part of the wild plant's survival strategy. So to give you a bit of an idea on why wild fruit have such a bitter tart taste, so plants have evolved their fruit for specific seed dispersal methods. Oh, our crocodile looks like he's moving a bit. The reason our crocodile's opening his mouth here is he's trying to absorb as much of that sunshine as possible. So crocodiles are obviously cold-blooded, that's why during the day they need to come out and lie in the sun. So the reason we're chatting about fruit, now it's the rainy season, so there's lots of fruits out there. So wild plants will often make their fruit bad tasting, and that might be to protect them from all the creatures out there that might want to feed on their fruit, like birds, monkeys, elephants, baboons, as well as fruit bats. So some plants don't want their fruit to be eaten, but other plants do want their fruit to be eaten because that is how the seeds are dispersed. So seed dispersal is obviously very important in trees, and it's amazing how all trees and plants have adapted to have different shapes, sizes, and compositions of seeds, as well as the fruiting body around these seeds. This crocodile looks rather comfortable lying here in the sunshine. To have a look at these very prominent scutes on his back here. Very hard shell protection. That does help to protect them when fighting with other crocodiles, or also when they are hunting down their prey. So once like for example during the Great Migration, there's lots of wildebeest, lots of hooves, lots of horns, and these crocodiles, when they're trying to take down a large animal like a wildebeest, they do have the risk of being injured by their prey. But with these incredible large thick scutes of theirs, it does help to protect their bodies from the elements. Probably one of the reasons these crocodiles have been on this earth for millions and millions of years. They have incredible evolutionary traits that they have adapted to. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Shalati Sunrise, see what else is happening out there this morning. Have a look what we have here. Looks like an old buffalo bull crossing the river. The river has come up quite a bit, so it's amazing to see during the rainy season some rivers that have been very low or possibly completely absent of water, to see all of this water rushing down. And often this water is quite dark in color, very unsettled, lots of soil that has been eroded and washed down from the river banks. This hippo seems rather, buffalo seems rather comfortable in the middle of this river here. So I don't think he's at risk of being taken by any predators because, this water looks quite shallow. Got a few comments here. We got Snazzy Fries says, hi, I was wondering why founders can show rhino on their live cams but others cannot. So Snazzy Fries, it all depends on which species. So generally white rhino populations are a lot higher than black rhino, so the risk of them being poached, yes, it is still pretty high, but there are a lot more of them, so their numbers are quite stable as opposed to black rhinos. Some of our other locations have black rhinos, and that's why it is a bit sensitive to showing these black rhinos while live. I hope that answers your question there, Snazzy Fries. Snazzy Fries was also asking a question about how are elephant lifespans calculated through observations. So again, Snazzy Fries, it's very difficult to age an elephant. The most effective way I know of aging an elephant is on their teeth. So there's a lot of research being done to age elephants on their teeth. So generally elephants have 6 sets of teeth, and by the time they reach the very ripe age of 50 years, that is when they are on their last set of teeth. So again, wild elephants are not really going to just let you have a look at their teeth, but some of these big elephant tuskers that might have been darted because of they might have had wounds or injuries, vets have been able to look at their teeth, and that's how, for example, that big elephant tusker Craig, I think that's how they've gotten a rough estimate on his age. So yeah, lots of research being done on the aging of elephants' teeth. And in some cases they will have a 7th set, but generally most elephants will only have 6 sets of teeth, which by the end of their life they normally end up losing the last set, and it becomes very difficult to eat once they have lost all of their teeth. What is this buffalo up to? I think he might be wanting to come and have a bit of a snack on this island here. Better be careful. I mean, again, as I mentioned, this water is quite shallow, so I think a crocodile would be pretty brave to try and take down a hippo in shallow water like this because they can't suffocate him. But maybe he's just trying to look for a place to feed. We've got a question here from Spas Iankov is asking, what is the record for the biggest and longest rhino horn in Africa? So Spas Iankov, one of the records that I know of was a horn of a white rhino, and it measured about 58 to 60 centimeters long, and I'm not too sure on the weight. I'll have to quickly give a bit of a Google to see on the weight of this rhino horn. But yeah, they can grow very long. It's always a privilege to see rhinos with long horns, but in most reserves people do actually remove the horn, so that is a good way to help to protect the rhinos within these private reserves. Just wondering what this buffalo is up to. It's also probably a hot day in Shalati, so I guess he's trying to cool down. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Tembo Plain and see what's happening in Zimbabwe. Oh, we have a pod of hippo. This is an interesting sighting. Normally at Tembo Plains here, I've only seen bee-eaters. The carmine bee-eaters are around, but lovely to see a pod of hippo.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed said to dog. Okay, no, wait. My first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
I didn't know they're also actually quite aggressive, eland, so they don't necessarily domesticate too well, although eland have very nutritious milk. Just got a water hyacinth or papyrus that's just floated by past these hippos. It's a slightly invasive species. I'm just having a look at these hippo shame. You can see they've got some scars and injuries on their backs there, which can happen while they engage in fights. Hippos have those very sharp teeth that they fight with each other. They can get very interesting and painful open wounds. Thank goodness they have their own, it's almost like an antiseptic liquid that they excrete from their skin that helps to heal these wounds of theirs. Because have a look at these hippos, they spend so much time in the water, so that's why their wounds do take a lot longer to heal than with most other animals. Alrighty folks, let's head back across to Eldonyo and see what's happening in Kenya. Looks like we've still got one of our very big elephant bulls. My goodness, so we saw this elephant bull at Lentori yesterday. So I'm going to be with you all the whole week live at the waterhole, which I'm very excited about. And we saw an elephant bull yesterday at Lentori. I've never seen an elephant bull with such tatty ears. So of course he was missing one tusk completely, and his other tusk was very small and very chipped. And his ears were super tatty. You could see that elephant, he had quite a long life. Could probably tell many stories of his adventures through the African bush. Incredible how these elephants move through this vegetation. So their ears do get torn and tatty quite a lot, especially while moving through this thick acacias. And giving themselves a bit of a splash, cooling themselves down. It's a nice hot day in Kenya. So Nick is asking a question. Nick is asking, why do wounded buffalo circle back on their tracks? So Nick, wounded buffalo are very dangerous, one of the most dangerous animals in Africa, and they are responsible for quite a few deaths, human deaths in Africa. Do not want to bump into a grumpy buffalo bull. So it's not necessarily a myth, it is well documented, and their behavior is an instinct. So they often will ambush, they have an ambush behavior, and when buffalo feel concerned or if they're vulnerable or threatened, instead of running blindly, that is why they will actually turn and circle. They move downwind, waiting in thick cover in order to ambush anything that might be posing a threat against them. And normally this is the old bulls, the Duggar boys, the mud boys. They have a very extensive hunting pressure in some areas, so they are very much hunted, especially these big boys. So yeah, they are notoriously known for having quite a bad attitude, and I don't blame them. I mean, they're on their own, they no longer have a family group. In most cases, they've probably got lots of aches and pains, lots of injuries from a long life living in the bush, fighting off other males and buffalo. So you can't blame them for being grumpy bulls. Looks like we've got quite a few elephant bulls coming down to drink. It's incredible to see these massive tuskers here. We haven't seen Craig for a while. I'd love to... Oh, sorry, 1 ton. So 1 ton is one of the super tuskers that does frequent this waterhole from time to time. We've got an interesting question here from Willow. Willow is asking, which South African river has the highest density of hippos? So Willow, if I were to take a guess, I'd probably guess the Limpopo River. So Limpopo River does partially stretch between Mokoro River and the Makalakwena River. And surveys have shown that this river does have probably one of the highest concentrations of hippo can be found in the Limpopo Basin between these two rivers. So the presence of many little kind of weirs or nice little sandy water holes among or along these rivers does create natural pools and forms a bit of a web of perennial and semi-perennial tributaries, which gives quite a suitable habitat for these hippos. I mean, that's what's so important about hippos, is they need to have a constant source of water that does not deplete, especially in the dry season. It's amazing how they are also able to move. So hippos will move from one water source to another, and they can walk up to 30 kilometers at night in order to get to a new water source if their water source has dried. There's the elephant on the left is sniffing his friends that have come to the waterhole, wondering, who are you? Can I remember you? Have we met before? We've got a question from Riley. Riley's asking a good question. Why do people say an elephant never forgets? Any real examples from the bush? So Riley, I think the reason people say this about elephants is because elephants are known to have quite a large brain, and they've got a very good memory. And they can remember all these pathways that they have used for many, many generations. And also they remember different individuals. So if an elephant comes across a carcass of an individual that they once knew or met at some stage, they will remember that individual. And elephants will actually mourn the death of a loved one that they come across. So it's so important for elephants to have this good memory, because they travel such far distances to find food. They need to be able to know where they're going. They need to remember where water sources are, where mineral areas can be found, as well as areas that might not be safe for them to move anymore. And in the dry season, imagine if you're an elephant out there and you all of a sudden lose your memory and you cannot remember where the nearest waterhole is. It could prove to be quite fatal. So some of the reasons elephants have such incredible memories. So Milo is asking a good question. Milo's asking, why do elephants sometimes fake charge and sometimes mean it? So this is called a mock charge, Milo. And elephants will often give mock charges when they're trying to warn you to stay away. Or warn you to not come any closer. So that's why it's so important that as guides while out in the bush, or even if you're on a self-drive vehicle, it's so important that you keep an eye on the animal's body language, their behavior, because when they give you a mock charge, that's them warning you not to come any closer or not to continue doing what you're doing. And if you do not heed this warning, then the second warning might not be a mock charge. They might follow through. So it is quite important to watch animals' body language. So if you're ever on a self-drive in Kruger, for example, or in any of these national parks throughout Africa, it's so important that, I know we all get very distracted and busy with our phones and cameras, but there must always be at least one responsible person in the vehicle, preferably the driver, that just keeps an eye on the animal's body language. If there's babies around, female elephants can also get quite aggressive too. Elephant bulls, if they're in musk, they can sometimes be a little bit unpredictable. Snazzy Fries, I love your name, Snazzy Fries. You've got a very interesting handle there. Apparently you're a new member. Snazzy Fries is asking, with these elephants, is there a hierarchy? So Snazzy Fries, so generally you'll have bachelor groups or bachelor bulls that might form these groups together. I think our elephant bull that had the long tusks that was here when we first linked across, I think he's a lone ranger. I think he's on his own. But these other three bulls look like they are chommies or friends with one another. And yes, there will be a hierarchy amongst this group. And if any younger bulls join this group, they must also respect and obey the particular hierarchy within this group. It's a great place for young elephant bulls to learn social dynamics, also how to interact with other bulls, where the boundaries are, what happens when you cross the boundaries. So it's kind of like a grooming structure, a very good grooming structure for young elephants, because they will get bullied and pushed around quite a lot by the bigger bulls, but that is how they learn. The social bonding time is very important and crucial in the development of these elephants. It's so lovely to sit quietly, watch these elephant bulls for a moment. Alrighty folks, why don't we head back to South Africa and see what's happening in Tembe Elephant Park. Oh, looks like we have a pool party here in Tembe. It's been quite a busy week here in Tembe. I think yesterday we also had breeding herds that were here, which normally we see lots of elephant bulls coming into this area, so it's always a privilege and lovely to see some elephant breeding herds. And I wonder if this elephant bull is going to share his mud puddle. He's going to give himself a bit of a scratch on the ear. While he guards his mud puddle. So we're chatting about fruit today, folks, and how important fruit is in the natural world. So elephants are a huge part of the cycle of seed distribution. So again, we were talking about how different fruits are modified and adapted to be fed on by different types of creatures and to be dispersed in different methods. Some seeds are hard, some seeds are soft, some seeds are very easily exposed, some seeds have very hard protective shells. So generally, these elephant bulls or elephants are a very good seed dispersal unit for some of these trees, like your palm trees that have harder fruit that the seed is not able to germinate unless it goes through the digestive system of an elephant. So like your wild date palms, your ilala palms, yes, the baboons can kind of chew on the outer fruit on the outer side, but if this fruit does not be assisted by the elephant's digestive system, they won't be able to germinate. And of course, elephants can move very far distances within a 24-hour period, so that's why they are so good for dispersing seeds. So Shelley, good question. Shelley's asking, can elephants swim long distances? And yes, Shelley, elephants can actually swim quite long distances. I know they don't look like master swimmers. I wouldn't say that elephant would win the Olympics anytime soon, but they are actually quite buoyant, and in times when they need to cross large rivers, I mean, I've seen elephants crossing the Zambezi River, I've seen elephants crossing quite large dams as well. So yeah, in times of drought, they will cross large bodies of water in order to get to more food or different areas. It's quite cute. I love it. They normally cross in a single file line so they don't get lost from one another, and the little baby elephants will actually hold onto their mother's tail so that they don't get swept away by the river and the current. It's very cool to watch. And then they have their trunks up, acting as a bit of a snorkel so that they can breathe. It's yeah, very special to watch. I must say, I've done a lot of boating experiences on the river or on rivers and lakes while elephants are swimming next to you, and it's a very special experience. Very special to be so close to these giant creatures as they are in the water. They are very good at swimming. Look at this boy. So he's cooling himself down. We spoke about the rains. The rains are here. We're super happy for the rains, but it does get quite humid during the day in between one thunderstorm to the next. It's a perfect time for these elephants to come out during the day, cool themselves down in a nice muddy puddle. So Duncan is asking an interesting question. Thank you, Duncan, for your very scientific questions. Duncan is asking, is it true that buffalo urine is itchy and can irritate your skin? So Duncan, I must say I've never touched buffalo urine because it has a very strong smell. So I generally stay far away from buffalo urine. But yes, buffalo urine can irritate your skin. Many trackers, rangers and hunters have experienced this firsthand. And the reason that buffalo urine can irritate your skin is because it has very high levels of ammonia as well as urea. So the high levels of urea and salts also can cause quite an irritation to your skin. So I don't know why you would have buffalo urine on your skin, but I would generally avoid it. So yes, some animals' urine is quite potent, quite strong. Elephants being one of them. And again, sometimes these, especially in the dry season, if they don't drink that much, they dehydrate. It's quite common for animals' urine to be quite strong smelling. Of course, elephant bulls, if they're in must, it's also great. You will smell their urine as very strong. Alrighty folks, as our elephants are disappearing, let's head across to Mwela over in Botswana. Seems like we've got our resident herd of elephants that have come back to the waterhole. Oop, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like we've got a few three-banded plovers down here at the water's edge. We're just talking about animals' urine, and as you can see in these very dry little puddles, elephant and buffalo will urinate quite often in these watery pans, making the water not so pleasantly tasting. But it's amazing how animals in the wild have a very strong immune system, much stronger than us humans, so they're able to drink this water in the dry season when there's not much else out there. So not only do we have a lot of fruits erupting during this time of year, but flowers. Here in Botswana as well as Zimbabwe, we get a lot of lilies that pop up at this time of year in quite an array of different colors, anything from normally between white, purple and pink. So you get your flare lilies, your crinums, those very large fireballs, or scadoxus. They explode with this giant pom-pom flower out of the ground. It's always lovely to see these brightly colored flowers coming out of the ground. Of course you get your flame lilies, lots of flame lilies, as well as aloes. It's just an amazing time of year with all these flowers. So that's why we do see a lot of butterflies also at this time of year, because of the eruption of all of these flowers that have been dormant most of the year, and now it is their time to flourish. I think I saw a black-winged stilt, if I'm not mistaken, just flew across at the bottom of this pan. Very cool to see black-winged stilt. Don't see them very often. These elephants are coming for their midday drink. Also looks like a group of bachelor bulls. So we've got a question here from Willow. Willow is asking, which country has more elephants than people? Thanks for your comment, Willow. And this is actually, Botswana is one of the countries in Africa that has a very large population of elephants. So I would probably guess Botswana is estimated to have a larger population of elephants within the country than people, or if not, it's definitely very close. So yeah, Botswana does have a large amount of elephants. But also Botswana does have a large amount of cattle and their domestic cattle. Botswana people are very proud in their cattle that they have. So although populations of elephants do fluctuate, and it is always difficult to get an exact calculation of elephants because these elephants can move between many different countries, so they don't just stay in Botswana. Some of these elephants move across into Zimbabwe, into Zambia, so you just kind of get a rough estimate. But the last thesis done, or count of elephants in Botswana, is around about 130,000 elephants, which is one of the largest population of elephants in the world. Now, I think the last human population or human census done in Botswana is about 2 to 2.5 million, and that was this year. So again, still way more people than elephants. I don't think there's any country in Africa that has more elephants than people, but Botswana is known to have an incredibly large population of elephants. So Ben is asking a good question. Ben is asking, why do thousands of elephants suddenly disappear from Chobe every November? So Ben, it's very similar to in Wangi National Park. As soon as the rains arrive, the elephants head further into very remote areas. So if you think of it, these very barren remote areas don't have much water, but they have a lot of food because they're areas that are not pumped. There's no waterholes that are pumped. So in the dry season, the elephants move away from these very dry areas and they move into areas which normally have waterholes, pumped waterholes, like this one here at Mawela, for example. But as soon as the rains arrive and there's enough water and all the pans out in the very thick African bush get filled up, that's when elephants do disappear from these parks into areas where there's more food, because there's so much pressure that is being put on these areas which have pumped water holes that there's not much food available. So in the dry season, unfortunately, in the droughts, you do get a lot of elephants do die during this time of year. Calves that can't make it, older elephant bulls that their body condition just can't handle the long distances they have to walk to food and water, as well as very old elephant cows. So it is part of a natural selection. But it's just part of also being in the African bush. Sometimes it's better for that. Their time will come. The elephants do get old. They do have to survive out there through the elements. Seems very peaceful here at this little watering spot. These elephant bulls obviously all know each other, because if it's elephants that don't know each other, there can sometimes be quite a lot of conflict around a very small little watering spot like this. So you can see this is obviously water's being pumped in this area, and this is where the freshest water is, and that's what the elephants are looking for. Got a question here from Lola. Lola's asking, what is the super herd and where in Botswana do you see them? So Lola, the super herd, just like I'm guessing like the presidential herd that we have in Zimbabwe, is a massive herd of elephants that join together during the dry season. So this is very common for elephants to form larger herds during the dry season, and that's for protection and because they move over quite crazy distances from one water source to another. And generally the area that you could find these elephants is in the Lanyati Chobe region. That is an area that is famous for these elephant herds. But as we were just chatting about earlier, elephants can move extreme distances. So you can also find this herd in Chobe National Park in the northern part of Botswana, along the Chobe River, feeding in those open floodplain areas. But the prime time to see these elephants, as I mentioned, is in the dry season from May to October. after October, these herds will then fragment into smaller breeding herds so that they can move out and feed in different areas. It's very similar with the presidential herd. I don't know what the number is of this super herd in Botswana, but I'm guessing it's probably up to a few hundred individuals. But our presidential herd in Zimbabwe is known to get up to over 300 elephants all together in the same herd. But as soon as those first rains hit, they fragment and move off in different directions. So it's so special to be able to watch these peaceful giants. Just having a look to see if there's any other interesting birds that might be flying around. Could be some laughing doves coming down to the waterhole for a drink. So Willow has got another question. Willow's asking, what is the name of the world's largest transfrontier conservation area that Botswana's elephants roam? We've been chatting a lot about elephants and moving between different countries, and the world's largest transfrontier conservation area that these elephants will roam through from Botswana is known as the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, so CASA, and this includes Botswana, Namibia, Angola, Zambia and Zimbabwe, and this is an incredible transfrontier area that these animals can move around in. It's over 500,000 square kilometers, and it's amazing that we have this space where these elephants can roam freely. And again, that's why if you go to Chobe or Wangi National Park, some of these parks during the rainy season, that's why you might not see so many elephants, because they are pretty much enjoying a cross-border trip around all these different countries, moving freely, which is always best for these animals, to have wide open spaces so that they can move, they can migrate, maintain those migratory routes that they've moved on for many, many years, as well as avoiding pressure from from predators or the predator pressures. Very important to have these elephant corridors for the seasonal movements as well of these elephants during different.
Hello, I'm James Hendry, and I'd like to take you on a very different kind of safari through the wild heart of Madagascar. In Undersea, we'll track the Indri's eerie call through misty rainforest. Then it's east on to Masuala, where lemurs leap through the jungle, coral reefs glow beneath the waves, and adventure waits around every bend. Come, let's explore it together.
Oh, even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. Whoa. This is action-packed.
My full name is Emojis. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer, and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I went to camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, I'm very fast.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every Safari Live episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature.
Mushrooms. And of course these mushrooms are just fruiting bodies of the underground mycelium network. So once that mycelium network gets flooded with water, that's when the mushrooms start erupting so that they can then create the spores and spread their seeds. And we've got a hippo here at Rosie's pan. I think he might have some oxpeckers on his back. Shame oxpeckers can be a bit of a nuisance for hippos. Alrighty folks, let's head back across to Old Donyo and see what's happening in Kenya. Oh my goodness, look what we have here. So we had all the elephants came through earlier to the waterhole. Now we've got loads of giraffe and some eland. How crazy is this? I'm glad, hopefully the elephants have left, because normally if the elephants are around, it is quite difficult for these other antelope to then come down and have a drink at the waterhole. It's looking so lovely and green, I must say. It is just flourishing, this environment at the moment. We've got a question here from Lola, who's asking which wild mushrooms is sold for more per kilogram than beef in Zimbabwean market. So Lola, I'm trying to remember the name of these mushrooms. If we have any Zimbabweans over there that can tell me the English name for hova mushrooms, please, I would love to hear from you. They, again, it's a specific so in our eastern highlands in Zimbabwe, as well as on the escarpment by Mana Pools, so it's more in the eastern area, so within a few hours from Harare. I wouldn't say in Mashonaland area. Matabele land in Zimbabwe is a bit too dry and barren. There's not too many mushrooms that grow in that area, but in the eastern highlands and the eastern part of Zimbabwe we have lots of edible mushroom species. So if anyone can help me with an ID, I know the giant big ones which are almost the same size as a small umbrella. Some of them, they get so big. We also get small brown mushrooms that are edible, and even orange mushrooms that are edible in Zimbabwe, which are delicious. But yeah, when I was working in anti-poaching in Zimbabwe on the escarpment between Mana Pools and the communal areas, we ate mushrooms basically twice a day, every day for 3 months. So I did get a bit over the mushrooms, but they were really great mushrooms. But again, I wouldn't just go around picking any mushrooms. You have to be very careful. So I would always go out with the rangers, and the rangers would pick the mushrooms that are edible. You have to be very cautious, because some of these mushrooms can be very easily confused with toxic looking mushrooms, toxic species that might make you very ill. Let's see if I hope our eland will come into screen here. Then we've got, so currently we have 3 different species in screen. I must say Old Donyo is a very special place where you can find lots of different animal species. I don't know if this giraffe is going to be brave enough to come down for a drink. These elephant bulls seem quite calm, quite relaxed, but giraffe are a bit of a skitsy species. check it, all these zebra also coming down to join us at the waterhole. Zebra can be quite feisty at a waterhole too, so giraffe generally tend to get the short end of the stick when it comes to drinking at a waterhole. Zebra are not too phased, elephants take over of course, but giraffe have to be quite patient when it comes to having a drink at the waterhole. Oop, the elephant scared the giraffe. Seems like, yeah, the elephants are not too happy with those zebra getting too close. I've got a question from Riley. Riley's asking, which giraffe species in Kenya is the most endangered? So Riley, I'd say the Rothschild giraffe would probably be the most endangered species of giraffe in Kenya. It is listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List. The populations tend to be quite slow in their reproduction rate. Could be because of many different things, habitat loss or fragmentation of their habitats. There's only known to be between about 1,400 to 1,600 individuals left in the wild. And again, yeah, these giraffe are quite specific and particular in the food that they feed in. So Rothschild giraffe normally are found in Kenya and Uganda, and noticeably known for their very unique markings, so less irregular markings, more rectangular patches. These will probably be the Maasai giraffe or the reticulated giraffe species. So they do face a lot of threats, and they're vulnerable to disease outbreaks as well as genetic bottlenecking as well. So when there's not enough individuals of a particular species, they start inbreeding a lot, which can be quite a negative factor affecting a particular population. Ooh, Melanistic Marble said there were cheetah at Old Donyo last night. Thank you, Melanistic Marble. That's very exciting to have cheetah here. I've only heard of cheetah at this waterhole once or twice, so always great to get some updates on what predator are lurking in the shadows. So thanks for the update here. Mercedes Bean, thanks for your comment. Hope 1 ton is seen soon. Yeah, Mercedes Bean, I must say I haven't heard any updates of when 1 ton was last seen, but I know he normally, when he's around, he's often seen between every 7 to 10 days. But there are times where we don't see him for a few months at a time. Sorry folks, we had some challenges with our camera there at Old Donyo, so we've just linked across to Tembo Plains in Zimbabwe, where we have a little baby hippo. I do love how these hippos tend to lie on their mothers' backs quite often, or on their faces. Obviously you can see the sandbank is a little bit deeper than what this hippo can stand, so he can't stand at the moment. So he has to move to higher areas where he's able to stand. There we go. I think he fell off his little sandbank there. Isn't this cute? Oh, baby hippos are adorable. So female hippos are known for being notoriously aggressive, when they have a little one. So if you ever see a female hippo by herself with a little baby, you know to stay very far clear. She can be quite aggressive while protecting her little one. He's just enjoying himself in the sun. We were chatting a lot earlier about hippos and their skin. Shame you can see this little one already, even at this young age, already has quite a few scratches and scars. So the older hippo bulls will generally have some very nasty injuries. Sometimes the oxpeckers will pick away at those injuries and keep them open, which is not always the best thing, especially if you're a hippo. You live in the water. This water is quite dirty, so it does keep these wounds open for longer periods. It's amazing how they have such a strong determination to survive. So even with massive injuries, hippos are still able to heal, recover and survive. They're mostly nocturnal. They'll spend their days suntanning in the water like this, and they'll come out at night, go and feed out in the grassland areas. So they are herbivores, hippos. So Mike, very good question. Mike is asking, why do hippos sometimes ride on each other's backs? So Mike, I was just chatting earlier about how baby hippos, if the water is too deep for them, they'll often hitch a ride on their mother's back. So it can be a good form of transportation, getting from one area to the next. Yeah. They also bond with each other, so they're sub-adults. I've seen sub-adults quite often playing and bonding with one another by jumping on each other's backs. We do have a healthy population of hippos in Zimbabwe, but I'd say it's most likely quite fragmented, the hippos that occur in Zimbabwe, because a lot of our big rivers within the country, besides of course the Zambezi River, they do dry up completely during the dry season. So hippos will need to hang out in areas where there's a more solid and stable water source. It's lovely to listen to the sound of the water as this hippo enjoys his sunbathing. So Nadia is asking, do hippos experience any form of grooming? So Nadia, yes, hippos do exhibit forms of grooming. It's quite different to your typical cleaning or social grooming, for example, in primates or cats. But yeah, generally maybe you might find them wallowing in mud in order to maybe remove any unwanted parasites, or if their skin is itchy. So it's a good form of parasite control as well as cooling their skin down. And with regards to social grooming, hippos will nudge or rub up against each other to scratch an itch, or maybe bond with another individual. So for example, like a little calf bonding with his mother, or an adult female that's maybe in the same pod with a few other females. They'll often scratch and rub each other on one another, and it's a good form of social bonding, although it is less frequent than in primates, for example. But yeah, hippos will also groom themselves. So some hippos have been observed using their teeth to scratch parts of their body that might have irritation or might be a bit itchy, or rubbing against a tree or a rock or a log to help scratch and itch. They're just like us humans, very similar. You do get itchy skin, especially with all these nasty injuries that they might have. So they will go and rub up on a close log or a tree. I do love how baby hippos can be quite playful, although this little one seems to be quite comfortable on his little sandbank there. They spend hours just resting and lying in the sun. Shame, you can see this female's got quite an array of nasty scratches, scars, probably bite marks also from other individuals. It can be fighting within a family group. And generally, hippos can hold their breath for quite long periods underwater. I know it's said that they can only hold their breath for about 6 minutes underwater, but I've recorded hippos being underwater for longer, even up to 8 minutes. That's good protection for them, especially when moving from one area to another. They need to swim for long distances, so they'll actually drop down and walk on the bottom of this little river, or if they're in a dam or a lake. And they're a very important part of the ecosystem because they're known as like the underwater dredges, so they help to keep these waterways open. So I've managed to try and find some of these names of the mushrooms, the suspicious mushrooms that we eat in Zimbabwe, but I don't know if these names are going to maybe help anyone remember, because most of them are scientific names. I only know the Shona names, but basically the mushrooms that I know of, the big ones that almost look like little umbrellas, they are massive, the ones that are found on the termite mounds, and these are very much prized for their taste. They're very nutritionally rich as well, and they can be eaten fresh. So these are known as Hova mushrooms, Howa or Hohwa mushrooms, and they are from the Termimyces family, another mushroom that we also eat in Zimbabwe. So it almost looks, it's quite tasty, it's a bit yellow as well, and it is known as Nzeve, Nzeve, if we've got any Shona speakers out there. And these are from the Candathelus family. And another mushroom I know, it's known as a penny bun, so it has a spongy, porous top layer with gills underneath. So generally the gills are a good indication of edible mushrooms, and they can mostly be found in some of our pine forests, as I mentioned, in the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe. And in Shona they're known as dindindi, Dindindi, and these are from the Boletus elias family. I don't know if any of our Zimbabweans or any of our viewers out there, if any of these names do ring a bell, but these are just a few of the common mushrooms that we eat in Zimbabwe. I know Zambia does also have quite an array of delicious edible mushrooms. So Willow, very good question. Willow is asking, the hippo's fallen in the water again. Willow's asking, why do hippos always return to the exact same spot in the water at dawn? So Willow, hippos are generally quite territorial, and depending on the water levels, so hippos always like to be in water where they can kind of be covered by the water, but there must be a sandbank there that they can rest on. So they'll find a special place in a source of water that is perfect for them to sleep in or lie in during the day, so that they're covered by the water, but they also don't have to be constantly swimming all the time, because yes, hippos are actually quite good swimmers, but they normally have a perfect place within an area that they occur. Alright folks, why don't we head across to Jackie's Pan, see what else is happening in South Africa. Alrighty, so we're here at Jackie's Dam in the Sabi Sands. We had a crocodile here earlier. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's a little crocodile here known as, I don't know if it's a crocodile or the hippo, known as Julia. Sometimes can be seen at this pan, but we did, before we started the show, we were here at Jackie's Dam and I did see there was one crocodile around. It would also be a perfect place for the cuckoos, so with the rains not only comes fruit and flowers but also our feathered friends, lots of migratory birds. Oh, there's a grey heron on the left here. Could be the grey heron hunting for something. Great time for fish, lots of spawning of fishes happening. The frogs also have their eggs, lots of foam nest tree frog nests that are normally around from the time the rains arrive, normally until it starts drying up, even into January, February. Great time of the year for the frogs to start breeding. So Julia apparently is the big crocodile that is here, so I was correct. I didn't know if it was a crocodile or hippo, but apparently Julia is the big crocodile, and I think she was lying off on the bank somewhere off to the left. But we do have some weavers, could be your village weavers or masked weavers, busy building their nests just above the water. It's a great place for birds to build their nests. So if there's any predators out there trying to get into their nests, the predators have to risk possibly falling into the water. Where is Julia the crocodile? Oh, there we go. I think, yep, she has not moved very far, this crocodile. She's still lying on the bank of the water here. So it does look like Jackie's Dam stays full for most of the year. Oh, but there's also a terrapin. We had a little family of terrapins yesterday that we were busy watching. Looks like it's just come out of the water. Oh, and another grey heron just lying in the tree line there. It's always a good sign when you have a lot of water birds, crocodiles, terrapins at a water source like this. It means it's a very healthy and happy ecosystem. Lots of fish, lots of frogs. It's always a very good indicator. So Lola, very good question. So Lola's asking about how can you instantly tell a male weaver in breeding plumage from a female. So Lola, weavers are quite interesting that the males don't transition into breeding plumage for a particular time of the year. Most male weavers will look completely different to the female. They have their more permanent plumage, but some bird species, especially now, like our widers, the pin-tailed widers, your paradise widers, a lot of these species have transitioned, and they, or like our red bishops, have also transitioned into completely different plumage. The red bishop compared to the male is bright, very bright, vibrant orange, red and black. Pin-tailed widers, for example, also have a little red bill, very black and white in color, and the females is completely different. The females are normally a very dull drab color, and throughout the year it's difficult to identify these wider species sometimes if the males are not in their breeding plumage. But as soon as the breeding season is over, a lot of these males will then cut off, they'll actually with their beaks break off any trail feathers that they might have. For example, like the which nightjar is it? Pennant winged nightjar. So Pennant-winged nightjar, the male has very long trailing feathers to attract the female, but as soon as he's mated with the female, he normally cuts off those long trailing feathers because it does make him very vulnerable to predators because he cannot fly very fast. It's the same as the pin-tailed whiter. They'll also be quite dominant and territorial in marking their boundaries during this time of year. What else is out there? Star weavers. Cuckoos. I'm looking out for some cuckoos. It'd be great to see some cuckoos now. In my area, we've got loads of Deirdre's cuckoos that are fighting and chasing each other around at the moment. I was at the Botanical Gardens, Walter Sisulu Botanical Gardens, not so long ago for a birding day, and my goodness, must have seen at least 15 or 20 Deirdre's cuckoos. There's lots of spotted cuckoos around as well. Oh, there was a kingfisher. Flew across the screen. Could have been, I wonder if it was a maybe striped kingfisher. Looks like there's a little antelope on the left hand side of the screen here. What is that? Is it a branch or log? Just having a scan to see if there's anything in the tree line there. Could just, maybe it's just a piece of the bank that looks like it's moving. Got another question from Willow. Willow's asking, what is the largest bird nest structure on Earth and where is it found? So Willow, I feel like it would probably be a competition between the sociable weavers and your hammerkop, because I mean, sociable weavers make these incredibly large nests. They can be found in Botswana, Namibia, as well as South Africa. They're communal. They have a communal structure or communal system. The nests can reach up to between 10 meters in width and 3 meters in height. So massive nests, but I think they might be wider than the hammerkop nest, the communal weaver. But I do think that the hammerkop nests might be heavier than the communal weaver. So I'd love to ask our viewers, which nest do you think would take the prize for the largest nest? We're going to go with the communal weaver and the hammerkop. Again, they've got two completely different types of nests. Communal weaver's nest is mostly just fine sticks. It looks a little bit more organized, lots of tunnels and passages, quite a few different birds, or lots of different birds will be nesting in that one nest, whereas the hammerkop's nest might not be as orderly, but I feel like it might be heavier because it has different types of sticks and vegetation that are piled on there.
There's a leopard. I've got a leopard here. My name is Cedric, and behind the camera with me we've got Muscles and Paul. Well, it is Feline Friday.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Maxine Gaines. Best part of the job, gosh, I just love everything about guiding. I love being able to observe animal behavior and animals behaving naturally. So for me, that's by far the best part of the job. And so what we do here at Wild Earth is develop those connections with the people that are viewing, and maybe just light a little spark that says, you know what, I want to be involved in protecting this ecosystem.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature, live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
How cool is this?
Sorry folks, I think we're having a slight challenge with our feeds. We're just going to reboot quickly, and while we do, we are looking out for any wild flowers and wild mushrooms. Just a bit of an update from our location. So I was just checking to see what everyone's been up to. I see Cedric is back on Chitwa, so great to have Cedric back, and of course he's started off with a bang, the Leopard King. He had Hlalamba, so lovely to see Hlalamba. And he also had an interesting sighting of some blister beetles feeding on morning glory flowers. So interesting, with all these flowers erupting, you see what feeds on these flowers. I know morning glories are also well fed on by Inyala and bushbuck, so lots of antelope and duiker do also like to feed on these little morning glory flowers. We've got Steve, of course, is at Sandringham. He had a really nice sighting of a European roller, so good to see the rollers are back. And he also had some nice sightings of some lions in thick green grass. Alright folks, why don't we head across to Lentor and see what's happening over in one of our other Kenyan locations. It looks like we've got our baboon family reunion is joining us again. Such inquisitive creatures. They're a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for, I will tell you that. Never underestimate a baboon. Even vervet monkeys. They can outsmart us very quickly, I tell you that. I remember at Juma, before we moved from the Juma location, those vervet monkeys used to break into the kitchen at Juma, and they were so clever. They would break in through the kitchen window, but often what the vervet monkeys and baboons, what they'll do is they'll send the smaller ones in. They'll get a sacrifice, send one of the little ones in to squeeze through the burglar bars because they're too big to squeeze through, and almost like conduct and direct them what to do, and they come and then feed the other baboons outside. They're very clever, these creatures. Don't underestimate them. We've got a question here from Layla. Layla's asking, how long does a female baboon's pink sexual swelling last? So yes, Layla, female baboons, I'm not too sure why, but males baboons are very much attracted to the swollen backside of these female baboons. So they it's an indicator that they're in estrus, so they'll develop this very swollen reddish genital skin, and normally it lasts between 7 to 10 days. That's how long their cycle lasts, but it can be between 2 to 3 days, but it can last up to 10 days. And in this period, the males will be attracted to the females, they'll mate with her, and the cycle will be repeated every 30 to 35 days, depending on the age as well as environmental conditions. The older they get, sometimes their cycle might become further and further apart. And normally when the swelling appears after 4 to 5 days, her ovulation will also subside afterwards. So we had a female baboon that was here yesterday. She was in season and she was trying to get the attention of a male. He was not very interested though. can see these young baboons, obviously, up to no good. It's grooming time, so you can see there's some allo grooming taking place on the right. Looks like a male baboon is grooming another baboon, and this youngster on the left is also checking for fleas on his leg. They do get a lot of parasites, but what's great about these baboons is social grooming is all part of their hierarchy and very important part of their development. So they will allo groom with one another. It's a good way to rid themselves of parasites. They were quite nervous here yesterday, these baboons. I was hoping we might see a leopard. These baboons are continuing the reproductive cycle. We have a question from Nelly. Nelly is asking, have olive baboons ever killed adult leopards? Nelly, I wouldn't put it past them. I think there have been a few documented cases of the olive baboons killing leopards. Although it is quite rare, but it does happen in some instances. Again, if you have a young leopard by itself, or young female leopard, or an old leopard that might not be in great physical shape, and if baboons do come across it, well, baboons will definitely be quite a threat to these younger leopards or leopards that might be injured. And I wouldn't be surprised, I think I wouldn't put it past baboons to actually feed on the carcass of a predator if they were to kill a predator. So just if these baboons found a den site of a cheetah with cubs, the baboons will kill those cubs, most likely eat them. I wouldn't be surprised. As well as if they find a den site of jackal. It's quite a harsh world out there. Luckily these baboons are well equipped with big fangs, and yeah, it's all about the circle of life, survival of the fittest. It's lovely watching these baboons going about their day. So I was giving an update on the locations. We were talking about Steve and his lion. So Tim over at Nkewa with Big James has also had lots of luck with the Black Rock Pride. Apparently there's been one male, Manuele, has been mating with one of the Black Rock females. They were also at a kill site yesterday, so lots of vultures as well as jackal roaming around. And of course David in Governor's area, he had some really cool sighting this morning of giraffe and a hornbill that looked like a southern ground hornbill that looked like he had a beak full of a proposal gift for the female. So the ground hornbills will often practice this behavior of presenting, it's almost like an engagement gift to the female southern ground hornbill, just to rekindle and reconnect their love, because they normally form monogamous pairs. I think David was also with the Marsh Pride, the lionesses from the Marsh Pride. Looks like quite a big male baboon here. It's coming down for a drink. He's probably one of the big dogs, more dominant individuals. Have a look, they almost do a bit of a skeptical push-up into the water. This is a shallow pond, so I wouldn't think there's any crocodiles here, but baboons do get taken at waterholes by crocodiles on occasion. So Mike is asking, why do baboons sometimes eat soil or charcoal? So Mike, very good question. Baboons need minerals and salts and sodium just like anything, any creatures out there, same as us humans. So they'll sometimes feed on soil that might be high in salt content, and charcoal is obviously very good for our stomachs and our digestive system. So maybe they are suffering with some indigestion, which wouldn't surprise me because baboons can eat quite nasty things. So baboons are omnivores and they feed on a lot of unusual things. I've seen baboons feeding on dung of other creatures, and oh goodness. So yeah, they might have gotten a slight bit of indigestion from eating something they shouldn't have eaten. Oh, look at this little one. He's drinking by himself. I'm not the biggest fan of baboons, but that little baboon is quite cute, I must say. Oh, look at this little guy. So when they're born, they're normally this very bright pink color for at least the first few weeks. It's a good way to determine their age. How cute is that little baboon? It's interesting because the female is on the right, but the male is on the left. So sometimes these baboons will actually clutch to the males. So the males can be quite good fathers. Can affectionate with these little ones, especially if there's any form of disturbance. So I've seen it multiple times. If all of a sudden the troop of baboons gets frightened by something, and a female is far away from her little one, the big male baboons will actually take the youngsters and put them on his chest and run away with them to protect their offspring. These younger females trying to inspect this baby. What on earth is this? Why is it that color? They're very curious creatures, baboons, very inquisitive, like to investigate things. So Ross is asking, will baboons scoop up water with their hands? So Ross, I've never seen baboons scooping up water with their hands. I've seen gorillas and chimpanzees cupping and scooping water up with their hands, but I've never seen baboons doing this. But apparently baboons can actually scoop up water with their hands. There have been some recorded cases, especially in the olive baboons. They'll cup water in their hands in order to drink, especially if the water level is quite shallow. It's difficult for them to get down to the water, or quite a distance for them to bend. They might use one hand to cup up the water for them to drink safely. It's amazing how certain primates, I mean, yes, baboons are quite water dependent. I would say they need to come down to drink at a water source at least twice a day. Whereas your gorillas, for example, your western lowland gorillas, they get a lot of their moisture. About 95% of the moisture that a western lowland gorilla receives is from the food that they eat. So a lot of their food is very high in water content, like your marantesi. So they don't often go down to drink. I mean, I think I've only seen a western lowland gorilla drinking once before. It was a tiny little puddle, and it was a youngster more inspecting the water than actually drinking. But these olive baboons and chokma baboons, you can see this area is not like your tropical rainforest. It's very dry, very arid. They don't get a lot of moisture from their food, and that's why they do need to drink at least twice a day. This youngster. The baboons, we were talking about animals and their reflections yesterday, and baboons are another creature. Baboons, most primates, your vervet monkeys are very curious of themselves. So if they do see their reflections, they can sometimes be quite curious. Alrighty folks, let's head across to Moella, see what's happening in Botswana. Looks like we have another elephant congregation. Oh, and there's some ostriches. My goodness, I've never seen ostriches here at Moella before, so cool to see some ostriches. And looks like some of our resident elephant bulls have come for their daily visit to the waterhole. Nice to see. For me it's nice to see so many elephants together, especially elephant bulls all together with not much conflict. There's not much fighting going on here, which is always great. So during the dry season, my goodness, shame, sometimes these animals are very stressed. They're moving extremely far distances to find food and water. So sometimes scenes at waterholes can be quite loud. Elephants mumbling and grumbling and shrieking at each other. We'll just have a moment of just silence, just to watch and enjoy these elephant bulls. See if there's any noises that they're making. Enjoying the peaceful sound of listening to these elephants. That's what I love about sitting at hides, is you just get to take in everything around you, the smell. So right now, this time of year, you're going to get nice fresh smell of rain. You've got lots of green vegetation around, which as the elephants move over this grass, you can smell that green grass that's been disturbed. In some areas you get these pan lilies or panweed or I think it's called panweed, purple panweed. It grows in these areas. Once the elephants move over it, gives a very strong jasmine smell. There's obviously lots of elephant dung around, so probably getting a bit of whiff of elephant dung, listening to the sounds of the rumbling, the elephants while they rumble through their stomachs, kind of communicating with each other, listening to the birds that might be around us. It's very good to take that time to just take everything in around us. So I've got a question from Jess. Jess is asking, which animal has the best sense of smell on Earth? So Jess, we're probably looking at it. Elephants have an incredible sense of smell. They have these amazing olfactory receptors, so 2,000 genes for smell, the highest known amongst animals. So they have the ability, they can detect a water source from many miles away or many kilometers away because of these. They can sense predators, so they can pick up on the smell of predators, and they can locate a mate. So these bulls, if there's any females in this area, I'm sure these bulls will be able to follow and locate those females. So it's very important for their observation. So wild elephants often travel long distances towards water, so they need to be able to smell this water from long distances. But I know moths, the male silk moth does also have an incredible ability to smell. So these moths need to have a good sense of smell so they can detect a single female pheromone molecule from over a mile away. So it's an interesting mechanism. So they have these tiny antennae that have millions of highly sensitive receptors. So the same receptors we're talking about, elephants that have 2,000 olfactory gene receptors, same as in moths need to be able to sense and smell creatures from a far distance. But sharks also have incredible sense of smell. Sharks can detect one blood drop in 10 billion drops of water, so up to 25 gallons of water, sharks can detect one blood drop, and that's again an adaptation that they have to find prey. So bears also have incredible olfactory receptors. So they have 2,100 genes of receptors. So they have a good ability to sense their prey. You always see bears as they're moving through. They have that kind of swagger walk that they have. They often will get up and on their back legs, maybe to expose themselves to different levels of wind, so they can pick up on these different smells. So Mr. Elemental, yes. So the sounds of elephants, particularly forest elephants, fighting and communicating with each other at night, has actually been used as one of the sounds used in Jurassic Park. So Jurassic Park, to come up with the sounds that those dinosaurs made, they took 3 animal sounds, if I'm not mistaken. So forest elephants was one of the sounds. Bears and lions roaring. So those 3 animal sounds they took and combined them together to come up with the sounds of dinosaurs. And it does sound very loud, shrill and shrieking sounds that they do make. I mean, most of elephants' communication is infrasonic, which we cannot hear. So by the time elephants do make a sound, it's like if, imagine you have a small child and you've already counted to 3, you've warned them once, twice, and then the 3rd time is just an explosion of emotions and sounds. It's very similar with elephants. By the time they've warned each other to get away, the other individual didn't listen, and now they need to be shouted at, basically. So yeah, that is why it is so loud when we do hear it. Watching these elephant bulls. I'm trying to see if there's any breeding herds here today, but it looks like we are mostly just sitting with elephant bulls. See, their tusks are quite short compared to some of the bulls we would see in Tembe Elephant Park, for example. Got a question from Ross. Alright, Ross, I'll get to your question in a moment. Let's head across to Rosie's pan and see what else is happening up there. Oh, here is our hippos. We did see a hippo earlier here at Rosie's pan. It looked like he had 2 oxpeckers sitting on his back, so it's probably an old hippo bull, solitary hippo bull by himself. And look at these scars. Shame, this hippo could probably tell you many stories. He looks like he's probably been in quite a few fights, lots of old injuries and wounds healed from many years of probably very vicious fights with other males. So we've got a question from Ross. Ross was asking about what are the 2 fingers at the end of an elephant's trunk called? So Ross, I don't know if there's a particular name. It's obviously elephants have a prehensile trunk, and that prehensile tip of the trunk, so you get the upper trunk prehensile tip and the lower trunk prehensile fingers. And this trunk that they have, it's very dexterous, and that is what allows elephants to be able to grasp, pinch, as well as manipulate objects with incredible precision. So that's what helps them to be able to pick up leaves, plants, fruit, vegetation. I mean, elephants can pick up a peanut off the ground. That's how prehensile and dexterous that trunk of theirs is. And I think it's to be able to help them while feeding on fruit. We mentioned elephant are great food seed dispersers, so they'll feed on tiny little fruit that might have dropped onto the ground, and that's why they need that very dexterous trunk of theirs, which is not something that this hippo has to worry about. So hippos, I mean, I do know that hippos can feed on a variety of grasses. Alright folks, let's head across to one of our other locations and see what else we can find on the canvas today. Oh, have a looky here. So we are currently at King's Camp, and I think this looks like a female elephant. So I'm going to guess there's probably the rest of the herd are somewhere close by. And she looks like she's gone and gone for a spray tan, but went maybe a few shades too brown. She looks rather red. She's probably been mud bathing somewhere in very red soil. This red soil does indicate a high level of red oxidized soil. You can tell the female elephant's difference from the males. So you can see she's a lot smaller, her body sizes are a lot smaller, her head is not as big and bulky as those big males, and also have a look at her foreheads. There's quite a big difference in the forehead between the females and the males. Oh, there we go. I was hoping we would find a baby hippo. We've got a good question here from Quinn. While we were watching our hippo, Quinn asked, can a hippo bite a crocodile in half? So yes, most definitely, Quinn. Hippopotamus bulls have a very strong and fatal bite. Even for crocodiles, they would definitely be able to bite a crocodile in half. Hippos have a bite force of about 1,800 to 2,000 psi, and they have these large canines up to 50 centimeters long or 20 inches, and this is what they use for defense against other males, but they can use it to protect themselves. So they could very easily crunch the bones of a crocodile. So crocodiles often stay clear of hippos. They will share the same habitat, but yeah, they do sometimes need to be careful, those crocodiles, because hippos are very aggressive, can be very aggressive, and could cause quite fatal injuries to a crocodile. Oh, look at these two. Looks like a sub-adult. And this elephant cow looks like she's quite an old girl. I'd say this is probably one of her if not last or if not second last little calf. They could be by themselves. Alrighty folks, well, as our elephants head off, let's also do the same thing. Let's go to Tembo Plains in Zimbabwe.
I'm Ralph, and I'm taking you to Sibuya Game Reserve, which is one of the only game reserves in Southern Africa accessed only by boat. We'll stay at the luxury forest camp overlooking the Kariga River with an abundance of bird life and animals grazing on the opposite bank. Luxury tented suites set in a riverine forest offers the perfect place for privacy and comfort. Join me on Sibuya and let's experience it together.
Do you want to know why impala are the most common antelope we find here in the Kruger National Park? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live. Connect with nature.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
so solitary bulls and the bulls that are in the herd. So they'll fight with each other to defend territories, protect their females and calves, as well as assert their dominance over other bulls within an area. So they'll use those powerful jaws, thrusting and biting into their opponent. They'll also body slam and shovel each other. So yeah, I wouldn't want to get a body slam from a hippo, imagine that. And then of course they have those incredibly large tusks or canines to slash their opponent. Would not want to get into a fight with a hippo. So hippos are also known for killing quite a few people in Africa every year. They can be very aggressive, so I always just be very careful, always heed hippos, be very vigilant of where hippos are. I love canoe safaris, I love being on a boat. It's other waters, somewhere I feel very comfortable and at home. But when there's hippos around, you do need to be quite cautious, because they disappear under the water and next thing they pop up right next to you. And you just hope that, well, you kind of pray they don't know you're there. But if they don't know you're there, they could also get a fright and then topple your boat over. So yeah, always respect hippos, give them their space. Normally with animals, wildlife, if you respect them, they will also respect you. I think us humans struggle with that a bit. Sometimes we try and push the limits and get too close. We always want to get closer for a better picture, to see more, but sometimes I think it's also okay to just give animals space. Just like with the elephants, we spoke about elephants mock charging. They do warn us, so it's good to look out for these warning signs. So some other dominant displays that we can look out for with hippos. Hippos will also use a tail splashing display or yawning. So when hippos are yawning, it's not to smile at us or to tell us that they are tired. They are warning us, giving us a warning sign to stay away, showing us their pearly white canines. Look at these teeth, I'll munch you with these teeth. It's always good to take. Heed these warnings from wild animals. Oh, these hippos look so snoozy. They look like they're having a great Tuesday. Very productive. I don't think I could be a hippo for very long. I'm not very good at staying in one place for too long, so I don't know if I'd make a good hippo. They have barely moved, these hippos, the entire show. They have been in the exact same spot. It's obviously a perfect nice sandbank. You see lots of trees around to also protect them. They've got their little Shrek-like hippo ears, very fluffy on the inside. But this is a perfect place for these hippos to hang out for the day. They are happy, they're comfortable. Alrighty folks, well, I just want to say a big thank you to all of our viewers for watching today. It has been a huge privilege. Thank you very much, and a big thanks to everyone out there. See you tomorrow, folks. Have a lovely Tuesday.